Hi guys, and welcome back to the Armchair F1 channel. It has been a while. I've had other things on my mind, so we are going to try and get back to regularly uploading soon, I promise. It is the summer break, which means it is midterm report time for all of the Formula 1 teams. I'm going to break this one down into 10 individual videos and go through each team more in depth rather than try and run all of them in, because that video will end up being like 35-40 minutes long, and realistically nobody's going to watch the full 35-40 minute video. So we are going to go team by team and keep the videos slightly shorter. The first team will be Haas, because we'll be going from the bottom of the Constructors' Championship to the top every couple of days until we've been through all of the teams. So first up, Haas, we're going to look at each team's drivers, how they've done, some of the high points of their season, some of the lower points of their season, and what they're planning, where they're looking at being at the end of the season, where I predict them to be at the end of the season, and overall grade them and see how they've done this season. So starting up with Haas, we have got their two drivers, Mick Schumacher and Nikita Mazepin. Now, it's really hard to judge these two because Haas are so clearly focused on next season. They don't care about this season. So you have to look at the few highlights, and there have been less highlights on Mazepin's side of the garage. It's really that simple. A lot of the really bad stuff has come from Mazepin's side, and the good stuff has come from Mick Schumacher's side. Schumacher's performance in Portugal, outracing Latifi, and absolutely obliterating Mazepin, then out-qualifying Latifi in Spain, and doing really well in qualifying until he binned it in France. These are all promising signs. There have been a lot of low points. Obviously, the controversy with Nikita Mazepin off-track, Mazepin's Formula 1 debut lasting 2.5 corners also springs to mind, but also Schumacher, who's had his fair share of shunts. The aforementioned one in France, he hit the wall on 2 of the 3 days they were on track at Monaco, which, again, isn't particularly great for him. And that weekend, he was getting outpaced by Mazepin. Overall, I'd say Schumacher has been the stronger of the two. He'd get a C to Mazepin getting a D, and the team overall gets a D. They have no interest in climbing off the bottom of the table this season. And they're not going to now, because they need an incredible amount of luck to climb off of that 10th place spot at the moment. I mean, Alfa Romeo have 3 points. Williams have just raked in a bunch from Hungary. Haas exists to finish last this season and hope they can improve next season once their drivers have gained some experience, provided, of course, Mick Schumacher does stay on. Mazepin is almost guaranteed to stay on. It's a case of whether or not Ferrari decide to keep Schumacher at Haas next season or move him to Alfa Romeo in the hope of him furthering his development slightly further up the grid. As for where they're going to be at the end of the season, they're going to be at the bottom. They're going to finish last in the championship, probably with no points. Although I do sort of agree with a few people that have said that if Haas score points this season, it will be Mazepin, not Schumacher, that gets those points, just because Mazepin's aggressive. And that aggression could win them points, and the other end of that is that it sees him in the barrier a few times. If they score points, I think Mazepin will score points. I think Mick probably could, but I think it's more likely to be Mazepin due to a crazy race and a little bit of aggression from Mazepin. Other than that, there's no light at the end of the tunnel in this season for Haas. They are at the bottom. They are going to pick up the wooden spoon at the end of the year, and this is where they are. They've made their peace with that. So that's, fair enough. If that's the way they want to do it, that's the way they're going to do it. Unfortunately, with Haas, there isn't a lot to say. This is all we can say about them. There's no point trying to flesh it out. They've been bad. They're going to remain bad. There have been a few highlights, mostly from Mick Schumacher, and that about sums it up. So until next time, when we will be talking about the next team in the championship, Alfa Romeo, I have been Shane with Armchair F1, and I will see you next time.